Oh, you already know what it is, people. It's the Dress with Pockets podcast. Yeah, that's a mouthful, and so are the discussions that we'll be having. Your co-hosts, Emily LaFrance and Mariva DeBoard, will illuminate God's faithfulness and all things femininity, boys, body confidence, friendship, and individuality. Get ready, it's going to be a wild ride. So we have Kaycee here with us. Kaycee is George, my cousin's girlfriend, and they're really cute. And we've become really good friends over the past few weeks. She's laughing, but it's true. And we talked a couple times about different fitness things. And she's studying exercise science, right?
Yeah, my major is exercise science.
Yes. So she's actually, and you're graduating next year. Is that true?
Yeah, next spring.
Okay, yeah. So she's pretty much an expert at this point, but she wants to be a physical therapist, and so she has a lot of passion for getting out there and healing through exercise and that sort of thing. So we're really happy to talk with her just about the mind muscle connection that we can make to achieve confidence and to feel better about ourselves. And then towards the end, the second half, we're also going to talk about something that Emily is really passionate about with just where does confidence come from, and how does that also connect with taking care of yourself and that sort of thing. Because I know we talked about this kind of in the first segment of our body confidence, series, but we just want to take a step further and just help give you guys some practical tips about how to really apply this to your own lives. So yeah, Kaycee, don't be intimidated. Would you like to give us just a short, or however long you want, just explanation of how you really ended up liking exercise and that sort of stuff?
Okay, sure. So I grew up in a pretty active family. We live in a rural area in Colorado. So, we spend a lot of time outside. And then no one in my family is really interested in healthcare or medicine, but somehow that ended up being the way I went. So, I absolutely fell in love with physical therapy. So that's been what I wanted to do for a while. And yeah, I love it.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I can definitely tell just from the posts that you and George have made about hiking or whatever else, that you both really bond over that sort of thing. So that's just really awesome. But yeah, so that's super cool. So okay, just for someone getting started, I know I have a few questions, but I'm not gonna interrogate you. And then of course Emily is gonna jump in whenever she feels led to jump in, and it's just gonna be really casual. But I just have a starting question for you. Answer this however you want, and don't feel blah, 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 blah. Feel free to answer however you want. It's not a yes or no or exactly this answer. But let's say someone, and I know a lot of people who are listening, because I've gotten a few responses of people on our first episode who are okay, I get that maybe, or even on the friend episode, making friends or kind of having a better body image, thought process. I know that part of that starts with me taking care of myself, but I feel intimidated starting. So as someone who does love exercise and does love healthy sort of stuff, is there any advice you give to someone who feels a little intimidated by starting healthy, whether they're overweight or not, or whatever it is, someone who's kind of intimidated by it? Because it can seem pretty intimidating, especially if you look at a gym. I know, at least for me, I really like calisthenics because I get really nervous to go into gyms, especially the Gordon gym is full of super huge hockey athletes and lacrosse boys, and I'm so I get super intimidated. So what would you say? Just I'm sorry, that was a question, but you know what I mean, that whole thing.
Well, first off, I get really intimidated. So yeah. You can love something and still continue to be intimidated by it. There's always room for all sorts of growth. So I am a person who does like comfort, so I do kind of stick to what I know and then slowly branch out. So for somebody who is for example, something that I'm not very comfortable with or not very good at is weight machines and weightlifting. I suck at that. I have to be taught that. Yeah. So I have barely learned, 1% of that, and it scares me half to death. So I avoid that part of the gym altogether, quite honestly. And I go focus on things that I guess make me feel more comfortable with starting. Because you want to start out with goals that you're actually going to be able to attain and you're actually going to enjoy. Because the whole point of it is enjoying it anyway, right? you want to feel good about it and you want your body and mind to feel stronger for it. So like try to find a friend who's into something that you might be into, like whether that's Zumba. I actually I have no rhythm, so I'm uncomfortable with that. But I had a friend who invited me, and it was kind of fun because I realized finally that everyone else was screwing up too. But then find a friend who is comfortable with weightlifting or is comfortable with running, or try to find somebody else who loves something and see if you love it too, and then it gives you someone to enjoy that time with. Also, I teach group exercise classes, and so group exercise classes are honestly another really good way if your gym or rec center offers that, because then you can meet other people who also want to go kind of do the same things as you, and there's usually a lot more people who are on the same fitness journey as you. So it's really about doing what you enjoy and finding a way to make yourself comfortable.
Okay, yeah, that's really good advice. I never even thought about that. So would you say it's kind of related to school, like getting your degree in college? Like if you really don't enjoy something, why pay for it? Kind of similar to exercise. Like if you really don't like weightlifting, do something else similar to that.
Yeah, you really don't need to weightlift if you really hate it.
Right.
Go do something.
Okay,
so,
that's awesome. Yeah. Okay, thank you. That's really helpful because I feel like, I don't know, Emily, do you ever get intimidated by going to gyms, or is it just me?
Oh yeah, no. Sometimes I don't even walk in. I'm like, God,
no. Yeah. I mean, I even remember earlier in the semester, Emily and I were doing volleyball because they had intramural volleyball at our school. And it was for me, I had played a little bit in high school and I'm pretty tall. So I was a little intimidated, but I'm okay with it because, I played it before, but I was still intimidated. And I feel like me and Emily were both intimidated. I can't imagine how it would be if you've never played before either. And so Emily was like, and I was like, oh no, I'm scared too.
Yeah.
So it's I think it's probably finding a balance between what you're actually comfortable with probably, and then also maybe pushing yourself a little bit, if you actually want to do it, not if you don't want to do it. Would you say that's true?
Right. Pushing yourself is absolutely what you need to do, but don't do something that you're going to hate or drop it because you're so scared to do it. So you want to actually make goals that you're actually able to follow, taking care of yourself, oh, okay, I'm going to go either walk outside or go to the gym 2 or 3 days a week. You want to make sure that you're actually comfortable doing that and aren't just going to go walk into the gym, like you said, with a bunch of guys where you're there's a bunch of girls on the elliptical and the treadmill and there's a bunch of dudes over in the weight rack corner and you're like, what do I do with this? I'm looking at the labels on the machine and no one else is reading the labels on the machine.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's totally me.
I feel like it's kind of important that, especially if you are someone who hasn't worked out ever, I feel like it's important to just go out of your comfort zone and just try something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And Emily did that and then ended up breaking her thumb.
What?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She's like, what?
It's fine now. It's fine. If any of you, if anyone from Gordon is watching, I have a thumb now, so it's good.
Yeah, I can, maybe we should post that picture in our story after we publish.
Oh yeah, no, I can put it in. I can put it in when I edit them. Yeah. It's a really funny picture.
It's really funny because we were playing volleyball and then our game got canceled because some people chickened out of the game. I said what I said, you know what I'm saying? And so we were passing just to get some exercising because we were planning on playing that night. And I passed it to Emily. I mean, I passed it not super hard, but it was a pass. And she accidentally, I'm balancing my computer here, bumped it right on her thumb and was like, ah. And I was like, oh, it's fine. I was like, this happens to me all the time. She's like, no, I'm in pain. We go to the doctor and they're like, oh yeah, this is broken. And so she was like, yeah, it was very funny. But the funniest thing was Emily wasn't even really, I don't know, she wasn't even really upset about it. She I don't even know if you cried. You were in pain, but you're like,
no. I was no. Yeah, no. I was just oh, I'm in pain, But I was making jokes the whole time, finger guns, thumbs up,
Yeah. Hi, Emily.
I'll put my other thumb up, but I can't. All these things, and it was really funny.
I know, that was the funniest part was I went in because they were okay, they came out and it was me, Erica, and I think Belle. That's who went with you because Erica drove us. And we're sitting in the lobby and I was doing school and then the nurse came out and she's like, what if you can go see her? And I was like, oh, okay, I'll go. And I went in. I And I'm thinking it's gonna be really serious because she like made this like really like disgruntled look, and I go in and Emily's like like making all these jokes, and then you made a joke about the X-ray and all this weird stuff, and the doctor was just like it was really, really funny. Anyway, that's completely off track, but it was just funny. But yeah, okay, so that's really, really helpful. And like going along with that, what would you say, and I feel like this is kind of like a hotly debated subject because Emily and I kind of talked about this in like our last like episode, like kind of from this series, and we just talked about how like we feel that really the goal should not be to look a certain way or look like this amount of skinny, but it should just be to improve your overall like health and like to kind of have a better like muscle to fat ratio and that sort of thing. So like what would you say is like a good how would you say this, determiner? I don't know if that's a word, but you know what I mean, right? Like I don't know, like a good marker of feeling like you're pretty healthy and made success, because like everybody has different body types. Like I'm pretty curvy, but like I try to exercise, and I do feel like when I have less like fat on my body, I do feel more healthy and I have more muscles, that sort of thing. But then I know there are really, really skinny people who like don't have like literally any fat on their body, and so them getting muscles might even be harder. You know what I'm saying? I don't know all the science, but just like what would you say in general is a good marker of success, or do you think it's really individual? And like in that case, like what do we do? You know what I mean? Especially during quarantine, you don't have a doctor really telling you.
Right. So I would say that there is no like absolute marker. Like, I mean, I know you guys talked about BMI, and BMI is all it really does is tell you your ratio of fat to everything else. Like, it's semi-helpful. Like, honestly, we were just learning about this in class a couple weeks ago, and like BMI doesn't tell you a whole lot. What can tell you more, I guess, is more your muscle to fat ratio. All BMI really tells you is your weight to height. Like, it really doesn't tell you that much. But mostly what I would say is if you feel functional in the things that you want to be able to do, then I guess that is the most important thing for you to be able to strive for, I guess. So like if you want to become a stronger runner, or like you're like, well, I mean, going upstairs makes me huff and puff, or you're like, well, I really wish like I could lift this certain weight. I mean, there's all like sorts of different things. You're like, oh, hey, I wish I could hike a little longer, or, you know, this really hurts and I think I need to figure out something to fix that. So I guess focus on something in your body, not like something that you're nitpicking at, not something that you're like, oh, I really hate this about my body, but like something that you're like, oh, okay, well, this kind of like isn't super comfortable, or this is kind of weak. Maybe there's some exercises that I could find to do with that, I guess, sort of thing. Like make yourself functionally fit to just be happy with your activities rather, I guess, than nitpicking at yourself.
Yeah, that's really good. And I think like the word nitpick is really good. I think, Emily, did you kind of talk about this about like the other day? I think we were talking about this, how like it's so easy for us to nitpick certain things and kind of get upset about one thing about our bodies. And like, that's not really healthy. Like what you said is more like a comfortable level, I feel like, of being like, okay, like this could work maybe differently for my overall health, you know? I like that. I like that a lot. So I think something else that I feel like is pretty interesting is, and I know that sometimes this is a sensitive topic for some people, so like if this makes you uncomfortable, like you're totally good. But like when it comes to like eating different foods, like I know some people in like the community, like the health community, are like, don't label some foods as bad, don't label some foods as good. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but like people get like really like turned up about this. I'm like, I feel like I just feel better and more, I guess, in the right frame of mind and like healthy when I don't eat like only fried stuff or only dairy or only this. But like, what do you think about people saying like, oh, there's no bad foods? Like, I don't know how to really explain it, but like, I don't know, like, is it healthy or not to label something as bad or not? Like, let's say like, okay, you go to a fair and there's like a fried Oreo. Like, would you say that's a bad food, or do you think that that terminology is kind of like weird?
I think it's not going to kill you to eat one fried Oreo, or 3 if they come on a stick of 3, because I've seen my brother eat them. But it's not going to kill you to like indulge yourself, but like don't eat fried Oreos every single day of your life, kind of thing. So food is bad in the sense that, oh my gosh, you should never eat that in your lifetime. Like, but you need balance during the day. So like you said, like eating a whole bunch of dairy, that's going to make you sick. So is eating all fried foods. So is eating heads of lettuce. You will starve to death. So like you have to have a balance of all of the different food groups. And no, it doesn't exactly matter like having some perfect balance or having some perfect balance of like, oh, I had one dessert today, or I had no desserts for a week, but now I had 3 of them. Like,
Yeah.
Ultimately that isn't going to kill you. Like, everybody's body is slightly different, so like someone might actually gain weight from that and some people won't. Like, it depends. You know your body, and you know how you should eat to, I guess, make it more functional for you. But like, there is no bad food in that eating something once in a while is going to hurt you.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. That's good to
I
know.
would say overall, like, just watch things that are like high in calories but have no like actual substance to them. Like, like avocados are high in calories, but they still have like a whole bunch of really good stuff for you, versus like a Toblerone bar that has like not that much good stuff for you and a ton of calories still. So like, just balance out how many things you eat that have high calories but don't really help you.
Okay, I think that's helpful. I mean, like, Emily, what do you kind of think about like the whole calorie thing? Because I know you have a lot of opinions on like that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I myself, like, I used to in the past, like, used to like count my calories to like make sure I had like this amount, or like I didn't go over it. And like now I'm kind of just like, that's not really important. And like I kind of like I eat healthy and I do all these things, but like I don't try to like, because like everyone knows me, like I'm this person that has to like stick to like a strict like schedule and like hit like the fine lines and like all this stuff. But it's like there really is no like strict like body or goal or anything. It's just like all that it's just like all that matters like to your preference and like to your body.
Yeah, I agree. Also, Emily's also an INFJ, so I feel like I can never get through anything without. Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm like, I'm always trying to change things. It's really bad, but I'm working on it. I'm like, as I've said before, I like took the test again, and I got like 49% J, 51% P, which is like really weird for me. I don't know. I feel like I feel like I'm more organized and strategic with some things than other things. I'm like, like with like time, I'm definitely very go with the flow, which I know annoys some people, so I'm trying to work on that. But with like things being the way I like it, like my room has to have like the bed tucked in, like that sort of stuff. Like I have to have iced coffee in the morning, like those kinds of things. It's like weird. Humans are just weird, but yeah. Okay. So thank you. That's really helpful. And I feel like it's just, I don't know, a lot of people need to realize it really is about like the holistic health, because like you can be super healthy body wise and not super healthy mentally. And of course it's where like different disorders come from and that sort of thing. And then things get thrown out of balance. So in your opinion, like, and I feel like Emily also this is kind of a good segue because I know that Emily also has some things to say about this as well. How do you think there's a real connection between like feeling good about your body and like internal confidence? Because I know it's like a really fine line, because like we don't want to put all our value, all our weight in like how we look. But like at the same time, I do think there's something to be said for like, if like, for example, if I don't exercise for like a whole week, I feel really, really depressed and I feel really down and I just feel really like out of sorts and like that sort of thing. So like I need to run. Like it's like if I go on my run, I instantly feel better, And I know that there's a lot of science behind that with like the brain or whatever. But yeah, so I guess this is kind of like a big question. So feel free to answer however you want. Emily, feel free to jump in if you would like to as well. But yeah, like how do you feel like we walk that line between, health is good and feeling confident in our bodies is good, and that helps us with like feeling confident inside as well, and not going like overboard to where like that's all you like think about. And I'm not even necessarily talking about a disorder or anything, but like I know that you can, like I can be that way sometimes, where I like do fixate on like one thing and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I need to get like a 6-pack, like oh my gosh, like I start fixating on it for like 2 weeks, right? Or like, oh my gosh, like my skin needs to get cleared, and I just start fixating, and then I've like sort of like deteriorated in that aspect. So like with all that being said, like how do you like tread that line sort of, and like that sort of thing, if you know what I mean? Also, there's a car going by. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, you're good.
Right. So I would say I have been on both sides of that. I've been, I guess, in the periods where I'm not really exercising that much. And I just thought of something. I guess I'll come back to that. But how to tie it back together so that we can go to Emily. But So I would say that I've been on the side where like I'm not exercising as much and I really don't feel as good. And then I've been on the side where like we go way too far to the extreme and you're like nitpicking yourself.
Yeah.
Literally, I know I keep using that word. It's like tearing yourself down on every little thing and it's not helpful anymore.
Yeah.
Like disorder is not, it's not helpful anymore. It's not doing you any good. It's just like you by exercising or then like or restricting food or whatever else or like trying to manage everything about your fitness to that level eventually starts like breaking down your body confidence rather than building it up.
Right.
So I guess to find that balance again, like I know I keep using the word happiness and I don't always like that word happiness because I don't really like how how our world likes to say, oh, do what makes you happy. But quite honestly, you do need to do what you enjoy. So like again, you said you don't feel good if you aren't running enough. Like I don't feel good if I'm not working out enough or not like at least being outside enough. And so yeah, it's really important to make sure that that is part of the self-care thing, to like make sure that you're actually doing the things to take care of yourself so that you do feel good. So like you want to take care of yourself on the other hand, but taking care of yourself does not mean like micromanaging yourself to the point that you begin to hate it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you have to walk that line there. And then also what I was going to say is when you are in those periods of like lax fitness where like I came home from college and I'm guilty of this. Like you would think, oh, exercise instructor or oh, like exercise science major. Like she obviously stayed fit when she got home. No, I didn't. So I lapsed in that. But what I've noticed time and time again is that when I start lapsing in my physical fitness and start like not even being outside as much or not doing whatever, it doesn't have to be like sticking to a specific exercise regimen. Just like when I'm not making that a priority for myself, I'm quite honestly also not making my time with God a priority. So like
I agree. Yeah, me too.
schedule thing for me. Like if I'm not paying attention to the things in my day that I know I need to be doing to feel good and to make sure that I actually like am spiritually okay, like most and above everything, like that's what I need to do is I need to make sure then that I'm covering all those bases because when I start dropping in one, I notice myself tanking in everything else too.
Yes.
So
wow.
Like and then also with that like I use my time outside or my time exercising most of the time, like that's when my brain starts to actually focus and that's when I pray, not when I'm reading the Bible, if that makes sense. When thoughts start coming out of my mind and I actually start like spontaneously praying about something that actually has been bothering me and I didn't even know it was bothering me. So like sometimes you spiritually need that time outside and you need that schedule. So
yes.
I guess
that is
make sure
so
that you're taking care of yourself and all of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's so good.
So good. That is, oh my God. I love that. And I feel like Emily, like, I feel like that ties in really well to kind of what you wanted to say. And right before you sort of talked about inner confidence and everything, I just wanted to like add on to what you said. That is so me because the past 2 weeks, I don't know what's been going on, but I have had the hardest time like getting out of bed, like getting things done, doing schoolwork, reading the Bible has been so hard for me lately. And I'm really like trying and making myself do it. But like it's so like I like sometimes I miss it. Like I used to be like super diligent about it. It's really hard. Like and like I'm not always like super structured. Like I have to do the same thing for like the Bible every single time. Like sometimes I'll like read something different or like maybe I'll just like put on a sermon or that sort of thing. You know, like it can look different, like different things. But I definitely agree because like I never even thought about that because my exercise had been so much harder to do. Like I'm usually like, and I'm like, I know everybody has different comfort levels, but for me, I usually do like, I don't know if you've heard of Chloe Ting, but she has like some really good like workouts. And I usually do one of those and then like I'll go run either in the morning or at night. But my usual schedule is like I'll go to bed and Emily knows this, like I completely switched around. Like I usually go to bed at like 9 or 10 now and I wake up at like 5 or 6 a.m. and I go running. And it's been so hard these past 2 weeks. Like it's like my schedule is completely just derailed and like exercise has been so hard. And along with that, like making time for God has also been hard. And I think what you just said is like so true. So I feel like Emily, what you like wanted to talk about, like kind of what we mentioned before like we got on this call, like I feel like sort of the inner confidence thing also ties in with like there's something else to that with inner confidence and exercising and reading the Bible. Like there's something there that I feel like has to be connected for everything to kind of harmonize. Would you agree?
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say something and I don't remember what it was, but no, that was really good. Oh, I was gonna say that I feel like to the question that you were asking before is, for me, it's really hard to like find balance with everything. Like, it's hard for me to know like if I want to work out or not. Like
You cut out, Emily.
Oh, did I? Hello?
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Okay, we're back. Sorry, something funky.
Oh, hi.
Something funky happened. I don't know what it was. Okay, you can continue. Sorry.
That's really weird. Trying to think of what I was gonna say. So, like, I don't know what I was gonna say, and it's really hard, and it's like frustrating me. But I was gonna say that
You're good.
I really don't. It's so hard. I can't think anymore. It's late for me. This is like way past my bedtime. So like I can't.
No, you're good. Plus I'll probably just put an ad in here anyway, so we can just like
yeah, that's fine. Perfect timing.
You know what I mean? I'll just put an ad in here.
Something with like make time for workouts and scheduling things, and I don't know if that but
yeah.
I do the same thing when I get tired.
I did the same thing. I'd like actually in high school I had this problem where like, okay, I really messed up my brain. Like I'm really interested in like the brain and that sort of stuff. And I have to research this when I'm done with school because I know there's a connection here. I was so bad with my sleep schedule in high school. Like everybody in college is like, oh, I'm staying up late. I was like, honey, I've already been there, done that. I was doing so many all-nighters when I was in high school. It was a huge problem. Like to the point where like I one time went 48 hours without any sleep and I was in choir. Yeah, I know. I was in choir and I was standing and I started like, and now it's like my brain is so bad. Like I can't like even like if I miss even 1 hour of like sleep like that I need, if I miss like even 1 hour of like my 8 to 9 hours, like I literally can't even make it through the day. And I think I just like destroyed my brain or something. And I gave myself memory issues because like I was so bad with my brain. So yeah. What'd you say?
Well, I feel like that all kind of like ties together too, because like, you know, sleep, mental, spiritual, physical, it all combines together.
Yeah. I feel like when one thing's out of whack, almost everything kind of gets out of whack.
Yeah.
Would you say that's true? Like, I almost feel like, you know, it's kind of like with dominoes. You push one, the rest are like, you know. All right. So, Emily, I know that you really like to go on like prayer walks and that sort of thing, and that kind of helps you being outside, like pray and just sort of think. So do you also feel like, whether it be like low impact or whatever else, kind of being outside, exercising, that sort of thing, helps you with spending time with God, like similar to what Kaycee said? Because I feel like that's definitely the case for me. Like, what do you think about that? And like, how do you think that we can kind of sort of make that connection towards being more confident in exercising or in God, like any of those topics? Because I know that you have a lot to say. So
yeah, I agree. So when I go on walks, I don't really pray. I like call it praying, but it's really not praying. I like, instead of listening, because like I'm someone who listens to music like all the time, and instead of like listening to like regular music, whatever, I put on Christian music and I just let it play. And like sometimes like I just like have like even like a couple days ago I had this moment where I was listening to the song and I just turned around on my walk, and the song, I don't remember the name of the song off the top of my head, but I just started crying because I was like, oh. And like sometimes I just like have those moments, and I feel like it's just really nice, especially like being outside like by myself. And I love going in the morning, so it's like even more so. Like I was telling you this one time, is like the reason why I like going in the morning is because it's literally like you're at peace. Like literally you're at the center of peace, because like that's where like everyone's still sleeping and like the day is just beginning. And that day I was just about turning around on my walk to go back home, and that song came on and I just started crying, and I was just like, I just turned around and I was on my way home from my walk, and I just started crying when this song started playing. And I just started crying, and it was just a really raw moment because I was literally by myself outside in nature alone, and it was just like me and God, and it was just like this beautiful moment. So
yeah, I like that. And I think it's important to have those kinds of moments because I feel like I almost like connect like more to God like when I'm outside, if that makes sense. But like I am kind of obsessed with like being outside too, so like maybe that's partially just me being me. But I feel
no,
like I
I
almost,
agree because
yeah. Go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say, like, I totally agree with that because I feel like God or nature is like the closest thing that you can get to God because God created nature. So it's like that like
Yeah.
connection you can have with nature and outside, whether it be like with animals like chirping on the trees or it be like,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. It's just like really crazy that like, you know, that's like the closest connection that you can really have.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like whether it's in our brains or not, I feel like as long as you're being put into a mental space where you can experience like talking to God without too many distractions, I feel like that's really important. And I know this sounds probably really ridiculous. I know this is not true. I know it's not true, but for some reason, you know, like you have those things where like, you know, they're not true, but yet you continue to do them anyway. I know that God can hear me wherever I am, but for some reason, I just feel like my prayers like hit the ceiling and fall back on the floor unless I'm outside. I know that's not true. I know that's not true. But like I really like have this weird thing where I feel that way. So I almost like have to get outside and walk and kind of like if I want to do like some serious like praying, I feel like I kind of have to do that at least for me. So yeah, I think what we're kind of getting at here is that not only is exercise important, but sometimes even just getting out and moving like in a space where you can kind of do that, which is usually nature and being outside is really, really helpful for just getting closer to God. And again, that if like one thing's out of whack, like what Kaycee said was so good. I never even thought of it before, but like one thing like exercise or sleep or whatever else kind of being out of place, then everything else kind of gets out of place too. And it's almost kind of hard because I feel like how do you like sometimes I feel like I dig myself into such a hole that it's hard for me to get back up again. And then when I do get back up and I make one mistake, then I'm almost more inclined to be like, just forget about it. You know what I mean? And I mean, I get over that mental block because I'm the kind of person like I don't like quitting. Like I will try to finish something at all costs, but you know what I mean? I don't know. Do you, either of you have any thoughts on like if you get in sort of a place where it's hard for you to kind of get back out? Like this kind of goes into I feel like what another thing that you talked about, Emily, is like how do you get the confidence to kind of be like, okay, like just because I missed a few days of exercising or just because I'm having a hard time like reading my Bible doesn't mean that I can't do it now. Like how do we build that confidence back up and how does that relate to external confidence? Anybody can answer, by the way. Like I just kind of feel like they are connected in more ways than one. So
Yeah, I like that. I was gonna say that I feel like this week, even wow, mess up words.
you're good.
This week, even I, you know, like you said, I've been having a hard week myself because like I have been staying up even today, right now.
Sorry.
I've been staying.
Sorry. 3 different time zones, people.
I've been staying up later than like these past couple of nights, just like an hour and a half later than I normally would. And then I also am like, oh well, now I have to like sleep in, and if I sleep in, I can't like walk with the sunrise. So I'm like, if I can't walk with the sunrise, guess I'm not gonna walk at all, you know. And it's like really hard.
Yeah.
It's like really hard for me to like get outside, and I'm gonna be honest with everyone. This week I haven't gotten outside, haven't done anything at all this past like week and a half, and or well, week about week. And the reason why is because I saw my mom, and as you know, I'm someone who likes schedules, and like as soon as I saw her and like up to leading this point, it's been really hard for me to like get back into that routine of like, you know, go outside, be with God, you know, do this, do that. And it's also like I feel like we need to give ourselves more grace and be like, we can't like be on such a strict schedule because then it would just become something that we have to do. And that's not what our relationship with God is. Our relationship is a relationship.
Yeah, I agree. I think I do that with myself. Like, I've been trying to practice like the whole, like, okay, like if I sleep in by accident, I'm not going to wake up and like get mad at myself and like beat myself up, because I have a tendency to do that because I'm kind of weird. Like, I'm a perfectionist in some areas, and like that includes like waking up, and I almost feel like disgusting and incompetent. I'm just being honest, like gross. Like if I get up past like 8 o'clock, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel disgusting. I don't know why. Even if like, you know, like I stayed up late doing schoolwork or whatever, or if I have like a legitimate reason, I just get super in my head about it. And like, okay, like if I'm consistently waking up at like 10 or 11 o'clock, and this isn't to make anybody who is doing that feel weird, but if I'm consistently doing that, then I do feel like, okay, Mariva, you need to get things back into the way they should be. But at the same time, I'm trying to work on like, if I occasionally mess up, if I occasionally, I ate a little bit too much pasta. Oh, okay, I accidentally watched too much Netflix. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to give myself grace and not be like, oh, idiot. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh wait, have you guys seen that video of the kid who's talking about that Supersonic game? I don't know if anyone's seen this, but he's like, that's how I feel with myself when I mess up. I love that video. It's really a guilty pleasure of mine, because there's another part where he's like he's like some people are like, Sonic 06 is the best game ever, and I know it's hard to believe ever since we got the monstrosity. That's like my favorite part. That's so random. I'm sorry. But the point being, yeah, like when I wake up in the morning and I'm not on my schedule, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're such a loser. Why? Like, I get so nasty to myself. And when I was on La Vida and I was, you know, had like messed up my knee and everything, and I was pretty much like just at base camp doing nothing. Amber Hausman, who is like kind of helps run it sort of, she like is in charge of like the different things like the students do, I think. And she was like, she was talking to me, and she was like, I think for your essay, because we have to do an essay like handwritten during the expedition, and she was like, you should write about being made in God's image, because you're so hard on yourself and you kind of put yourself down. And I was like, how dare you? But then I was also like, wait, she's right. You know what I mean? And like, she's also an INFJ, by the way. I think I should mention that. I'm an ENFP. That's not the point. People are like, stop talking about this. My point is I feel like that's really true. And I feel like that's something about myself and other people struggle with as well, is that like when we make one mistake, we get super upset with ourselves and just tear ourselves apart. But it's like, I don't think that's what God wants for us, you know, because it's putting our identities in what we can do, which is not good, because I'm going to mess up. I'm not going to be perfect. I'm not going to have a perfect body. I'm not going to be the perfect person. That's never going to happen. And there are days that I'm not going to exercise, you know? So like, you know, but I can put my identity in Christ and get a lot of confidence from that, and a lot of inner confidence from that. So I have to remind myself to extend the grace that God gives me, especially when the things that I'm doing, like waking up late, I don't even think that doing that every once in a while, it's not like a sin or anything. It's just like when you continually don't take care of your body. So like, why am I destroying myself over getting extra sleep? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on that, but that's kind of like what I think about that. Also, it's super humid, so my mascara, I'm wearing a little bit, and it's like running. It's fine. But yeah, I mean, does anyone else do the same thing or no?
I was gonna say something. Give me a moment.
Well, I want to give Emily a moment.
So I feel like what you were talking about is like kind of important, because it's important to give ourselves grace, and it's also like we can't beat ourselves so much while doing it, you know, whether it be like journaling or praying or working out. We can't like beat ourselves up, or we can't beat ourselves up for not doing it, but we also can't be like, oh, it's just a chore and I gotta do it, you know, because then we won't get the full enjoyment of doing it.
So true. Were you gonna say something, Kaycee, or no?
I guess kind of. I know you just said everybody's probably telling you to stop talking about this, but the whole personality thing, like my best friend is also like very similar. She's like on the border of like ENFJ, INFJ.
Yeah.
And So like we have a lot of conversations about perfectionism and our issues with that. And so
And
I
our
loved what you
issues.
guys both just said about yes, like that, like so we've been talking about a lot like how our personality, like our current issues are like so much ingrained in us with our personality of like, I must do this, I must do this, I must do this. And the Bible completely tells us like, no, like this is what God is for you and this is who you are in God, and that's where that comes first and not yourself. So like we're willing to have so much grace for other people and for other people's schedules and for what other people have going on, and we don't have grace for ourselves. And we also like, then if we're not extending grace to ourselves, we don't understand how God can extend grace to us at all. So like we get caught up in this constant cycle of like, oh, I really need to be perfect in my time with God, I really need to be perfect in my fitness, and then it becomes a chore, like you said, Emily. Like if I'm not perfect in it, then what's the point? When like the whole point of it is continuing in it even when it's hard, so that you do enjoy it. Like again, you need to enjoy that time with God. You need those times. And quite honestly, I think the whole struggling with the schedules thing, my friend and I have talked about a lot that like we actually need that. Like we actually need stumbling. Like it sounds completely stupid, but we do. Like I mean, not stupid, but like it sounds like counterintuitive. Like, oh my gosh, I needed that bad grade on that test, or I needed to accidentally skip time with God this morning, because like,
the cat.
if we don't realize that we're human and that we also need grace, then we get caught up in that perfectionism even more. So, I guess like praise God for our imperfections, because otherwise, it makes us want that perfectionism even more, and it makes us think that we're the ones being perfect.
Yeah.
And not carrying us and helping us, because otherwise, quite honestly, like if we tried to be perfect all the time and we ran the world would be an awful place. So, like, I'm like, as much as I feel like I want to run the world, I can't run my world because I know what I want to do it. So, like, you can apply that to fitness and to spending time with God and just overall to yourself. Like I've been in seasons where I've pushed myself so hard in like every single area that all it did was like destroy me internally, even though I had it all together on the outside. So I depend upon God foremost to give you the grace in all those situations.
Yeah, that's good. So good. I feel like it's important to, find a good balance, because there's a difference between like, not doing it, but there's also like, you could be pushing yourself too much and you could be like, oh, I gotta do this. Like I have a friend of mine who's like me and like has a schedule for like everything, and like always journals and always does this, and like if she can't, she kind of almost gets like, one time she was like almost mad at herself because like she didn't journal at one specific time on that day. And I feel like that's kind of important, because it's like we need to also give ourselves grace for like the times where, because like maybe God was like, you need to spend time with other people. You don't have to spend time with me all the time, Yeah.
And I even feel like when we are, to bring up the Bible, because I just realized we did not put a lot of verses in this episode. So
or last episode.
I know, but it's coming from a biblical perspective, guys. So we'll try to incorporate that more. But we're coming at it from the verses that we do know. But I was just reminded by, and this is terrible, I feel like this is in Matthew, but it could not be, because I'm a terrible Christian and I forgot where this is in the Bible, but I know it's in the Bible. And it's like, where two or more are gathered, there I am with them. And I feel like that's true. Like sometimes you don't have to be like in quiet time, which is also a very interesting phrase, because I don't think you necessarily have to be in quiet time to be with God. Because like think about the moms with like 4 kids. You're going to tell them that they need to have quiet time every single day. That's kind of unreasonable. But the point is, we don't always need to be by ourselves, quiet, candles lit, like instrumental worship music going for there to be God. Like, as you said, Emily, sometimes you just have to like be with people and hanging out with people, and just kind of loving on them. And that's God's in that as well, I feel like. So I feel like that's really important, that we experience God in different ways, and that not that it's supposed to just be this experiential thing where it's like all about feelings. That's not what I'm saying. But that the way that we worship God isn't just through praying, isn't just through quiet time, but is also just like the posture of our hearts, you know, because that's sort of a worship in itself. But yeah, and then also I wanted to say something about what you said, Kaycee. I feel like another problem with perfectionism, and I don't know if anyone else struggles with this, I'm just gonna be honest, because I definitely do. I like get so prideful then in so many different ways. And God's really shown to me that this is a huge problem in my life, like a huge problem. I will get so prideful, and everyone on the outside, like everyone back at Gordon's like, Mariva's so sweet and like so like nice and everything. But on the inside, I am like actually like super, 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 super prideful about so many things. And I'm really working on it. But it definitely comes from either my schedule or the way that I like to do things, or how I think this is better than what other people do. And I'll get so judgmental. And it stems out of insecurity, because I think that I can control my life. Then I'll feel more secure, instead of, again, just like putting my, identity in God. But then also it stems from a place of, it makes me feel better if I'm like, okay, wow, this girl isn't getting up to run 3 miles in the morning. Well, that's if you want to do that. I mean, that's like an extreme example, but like in my family, it happens. Like with like my siblings, like I'll be like, wow, it was so good. I only had one portion of food. And then if I see like my brother or my sister get more, I'm like, wow, I guess the obesity bus came early. Like I say, like, like I don't say stuff like that, but like I definitely hardcore judge them. And like, it's so damaging to other people, especially if I end up saying something, because every once in a while, my crazy thoughts actually exit my head, which is a problem. But yeah, I mean, it's just such a problem with like pride for me, like having things under control, getting a schedule. Because the moment I do, I'm like, especially for me, because unlike you two, I am naturally unorganized. So when I do have organization, I'm like, I totally just conquered something, and everyone else should conquer it. And I'm so much better than everyone else because I'm not even a naturally organized person. And now I have a schedule. So I just, yeah, it's such a problem in that area for me. And I really just feel like it goes back to all of this has to tie in with giving ourselves grace, being healthy. All of that has to tie back with like, where are we actually putting our stability in? And it has to be God. And we have to keep coming back to that, and keep coming back to that same fountain to kind of drink and get our energy from. Otherwise, we're going to stumble in some area, and then it's going to be the domino effect in a negative way. Yeah.
I just thought of with that. So like what you were just saying about perfectionism and how we've been talking about like if we're like basing our judgments off of ourselves, it's not right?
Yeah.
So like why then do we always base our standard for like what our bodies should be like off of our own critical minds? Like, but honestly, I just thought of that because I was like, why do I think things have to be by my standards, and then I realized, oh my gosh, like God's standards are what it's supposed to be like, not my own. Then why do I keep like trying to make everything my standards, including my body? So like that's stop doing that.
Yeah, like every temple can look a little different. The point is that the temple's air conditioned and that the walls aren't falling off. You know what I'm saying? Like it looks like I'm just saying, like there's different things. But yeah, I totally agree with what you said. Emily, I feel like you've talked about this too. What are your thoughts on what Kaycee just said? Because I feel like you've talked about this a lot. Sorry, I like put people on the spot.
No, you're good. I just like it gives because I'm like, oh, what do I say?
Sorry. No, this is how, by the way, if people listening, it's how I talk in real life too.
Yeah. Yeah. What were you talking about again? I had a thought, but I forgot it.
Body image, confidence in God.
Oh, yes.
Like the standards we hold our body to aren't even in like God's standards usually.
So I was gonna say that I feel like it's important to sorry. I feel like it's important to know that like so here's something that I actually remembered what I was gonna say earlier. It's important to understand and know that if you are someone who's working out or eating this amount of food or eating this food specifically or whatever. You need to understand like the reason, or you need to like, I forgot what I was going to say.
You good?
But it was involved with like you talking about like nitpicking like your body or you know, things, you know, and it's like I don't remember, but it's like I really don't remember what I was going to say.
No, you're totally good. I was just gonna go off what she said, and I feel like you've said this to me so many times about how like we talked about this in an episode the other day. Like it's very easy for me to hold myself to standards that are not in the Bible, like are not from the Bible. And if we're Christians, we need to start realizing that like what the world says, if like we really mean it, not only does it affect the way that we live, but it affects the way that we think about ourselves. And so it really should just be about being healthy. And I felt like you've talked about it before, and sort of, again, like, how does God see you? Like, God does not see me. He doesn't see the outside. He might see, okay, like, she's not taking care of herself in this way like she should because she wants to honor me. But he doesn't go, oh my gosh. So there's a little love handle there. I don't know if this temple is a 5-star right now. Like, God doesn't think of things like that. You know what I mean? Like, that's not God. And I just feel like you said that so many times.
Yeah.
So that's mainly what
I was gonna say
you're totally good.
It like, what are the standards? Like, are you looking at the standards for like the worldly things, or like are they your standards or are they God's standards? So yeah,
for sure. I feel like we all fall into that trap at some point or another, which is, I don't know why we do this to ourselves, but we do. So yeah. All right. Well, any closing remarks? I feel like that covers pretty much everything you really wanted to talk about. So yeah, I think that was good. But yeah, okay. Well, bye guys. Thanks for listening. You can follow us at dress.w.pockets, and you can also follow our personal accounts, emily.faith.lafrance and Mariva Diva. I don't know if Kaycee wants her account being put out there because she's private.
Well, if to I am starting an account for like people who are going into physical therapy, so we can put that out there for people to look me up as a resource if you want.
Yes.
So I'm kind of sharing my experiences and trying to help other people get ready.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's awesome. Do you know what it's called yet? Have you started it yet, or are you thinking about starting
it? It's called Work Smarter DPT.
Okay.
So like DPT, like Doctor of Physical Therapy, but the acronym. So
awesome. Okay, well, nice little plug, you physical therapists out there. Go follow that. And yeah, okay. And you can also watch this on YouTube soon when it's released. And that's all we have to say. Okay, everybody say bye.
Bye.
Bye.